my immediate left, Ms. Charlene Herbert. She is the volunteer with the Grenada National Organization of Women. She's a trade unionist, and don't look at her thinking she is, you know, some little girl. I know some people take offense at that little girl, but Charlene and I are friends, so that's okay. Charlene has more than 25 years of banking and finance experience. And we have the distinguished Mrs. Gloria Payne Banfield. She's been like a mother to me, Auntie Gloria. She's a retired public worker. That's all she likes to be referred to as, but we put her distinguished title. She's a retired diplomat. She's a former political leader of the Grenada United Labour Party. And the accolades can go on, but she's a very simple woman. Auntie Gloria, it's great to have you this evening.
Thank you for asking me.
Great. And we have joining us out of Suriname this evening, Trinidadian by birth and nationality, we have Mr. Derek Ramsarouge. He's a political analyst. Derek, it's great to have you joining us from across the seas in the South American mainland.
Good night to all your viewers, wherever in the world they are.
Excellent. And we were hoping to have with us one of our St. Lucian friends. Unfortunately, he's had some medical challenges and he had an emergency procedure done this morning, so he can't join us. Out of Dominica, Michelle Williams should have been on the panel as well, but he has been called away to active duty. So hopefully we can link up with them. Tonight, officially, the election watch begins. We know that we've had some developments on the political line last week. There's been quite a buzz in Grenada recently, and we are aware that elections are not due until 2023, but there's never a dull moment in Grenada, and so we are always waiting. GBN is always prepared to ensure that we lead the coverage. GBN leads, the others follow. Mrs. Gloria Payne Banfield, last week we had the newly elected political leader of the National Democratic Congress with us on the program, and the news was still fresh 1 week old. What were your thoughts on what transpired here in the last couple of weeks?
Well, it was very interesting, I must say, because Mr. Mitchell came from behind. I have to say he came from behind. He wasn't out front. You heard about Terry Forrester, and you heard about Philip Alexander, and you heard about Persuader, but you never heard about Deacon Mitchell. So it was a surprise, and a pleasant surprise, I would say, because people see him as a capable young man. They think he's competent, he's bright, and I'm sure that he would, you know, step up to the plate and do a good job as leader of a party. I can't say further from that, because if you're a leader of a party, it follows that if you win your seat, but if he doesn't win his seat, he can't be prime minister. So, you see, we have to look at him as leader of the party.
Okay. So those are Mrs. Payne Banfield's opening thoughts. Charlene, we know you shy away from politics, and we're not putting you on the line in terms of politics. You deal with women and socioeconomic issues, but what happens at the political levels, they come and they affect women. And your thoughts generally about women and how they have fared based on world developments in recent times?
Well, we see the impact of the pandemic affecting women as a vulnerable group. And we also see how policy can affect women in terms of what decisions are made, whether or not they basically survive. Now we're talking lives and livelihoods.
Okay, and we're going across now to Derek Ramsarouge. He is based, as we said, in Suriname. He is Trinidadian and has worked in several Caribbean islands, including in Grenada over the years, following politics, so his ears are always to the ground and he knows what's happening. So Derek, we've had those developments in Grenada. You have been following them. Your thoughts?
It's really much to do about nothing. Let's be clear. I hear you talk about the election watch. You're actually combating someone like Dr. Keith Mitchell, who's got 37 plus years in politics. There is no rationale or reason to go into an election at this point in time when you consider the challenges of COVID, the pandemic economy, restructuring the country's economy. Let's talk about NDC for half a second. Since the numerous defeats of the NDC, they've always had leadership challenges. You've had a myriad of leaders emerging and leaving in very short time. Now, it doesn't take away anything from the newly elected leader, who is 40 years old, an attorney by profession. But when you begin to talk about politics, then you begin to raise matters of public transparency, campaign finance reform. What are you offering? How does the NDC's political track record balance with your own personal view? Have you healed the party on the inside? Have you recovered from the numerous levels of defeats? Remember, you're dealing with 15 constituency elections. So connectivity to the young people, connectivity to the candidates, and connectivity to the constituencies are important. As you explained, you have a number of persons in the diaspora. If we looked at the age argument and you look at Donald Trump, Biden, if even you looked at Bernie Sanders, and the notion being put forward that there's an age challenge, it's not so much an age challenge, it's a connectivity challenge. And most young people want to know, what are you going to do with respect to jobs? What are you going to do with respect to managing the debt? How are you going to improve the quality of our lives? So you cannot just appear to be political leader. I want to correct something by one of your guests. No politician or aspiring politician arrives overnight. When you look at the composition of the team being put forward by the NDC, clearly it was cooperated. The guys came together, had a plan to first take over the NDC as a political party. Money plays a very important part in the control of political entities. Let's not fool ourselves now.
So Derek, let me just interject here, because at the GBN we try to be careful with the pronouncements that are made, and already in Parliament there was a comment about you can buy a political party but you cannot buy the people. And your comments, are you seeming to suggest that you have reason to believe that probably there has been some purchasing of the party? And I leave that right there, because depending on your answer, we may get a writ tomorrow. So I want us to be careful with the pronouncements that we made. Let me just go to, we come back to you. We come back to you there. Let me just come back to you on that. Let me just go to Mrs. Payne Banfield. So what is your summation of the thoughts just raised, and not necessarily relating to purchase of party, of money and parties, but the whole scenario of what has played out here and the dynamics at play in politics in Grenada and the organization of political parties?
You see, the thing about it is that Deacon Mitchell has been nowhere in the political arena as far as I am concerned. And I think I'm an average Grenadian. And out of the blue comes Deacon Mitchell. We're not going to hold that against him. And as I said before, he handled himself, and so far has been handling himself quite well. So we're going to give him a chance as good Grenadians. But it was a surprise. It was a surprise.
Okay. Surely, Mr. Ramsey made reference to the pandemic economy, which is something you started off looking at, and especially its role on its impact on women and girls. And I think you think that's a very important point that he raised, don't you?
Well, indeed. Women, the role of women cannot be underestimated in the family setting. Women they have been at the front, on the front lines, as doctors, as nurses, as caregivers, just to name a few. Then they still go home and have to take care of family. So a lot of added stress, coping skills. We see the need for psychotherapy, a number of things. And sometimes it just gets too much
Okay. And your thought on, and we're going back to Derek in a little bit, but when you look at women like Mrs. Gloria Payne Banfield, one of the world's greatest, and you look at politics, last week I was making the point to Mr. Deacon Mitchell that, politics is a dirty game, and as far as Grenada is concerned, Mr. Payne Banfield is talking about the fact that, we've known him as a corporate lawyer. He just came out of left field, and I asked him whether he was worried about his reputation being sullied. What is your thought probably on women not being involved too much in politics for the same reasons? Last week people were saying, but we need a woman in that party because there was no woman apparently on the lineup of the new NDC executive, and we're speaking subject to correction. But
the treasurer is a woman.
The treasurer is a woman, and the treasurer is
St. Bernard, I think.
St. Bernard.
Right.
Andrea St. Bernard.
People were thinking probably that the deputy political leader should be a woman. They need a woman on the ticket, so to speak.
They need a token woman. I'm against token women. I'm really against token women.
We'll go back to Ms. Payne Banfield on tokenism and women. But your thought probably on why women shy away. You don't even want to talk about politics because what? It's too divisive?
You can't get away from politics. I mean, Grenada politics, we know our political history. So you may not find persons coming to the fore, but a lot of them, they're very involved.
Women are in the trenches. They are in the trenches. When you're looking for the real politicians, the women, they're in the trenches. They're working hard for the party.
And women has been at the forefront of many a struggle.
You want to reflect on some of them quickly before we go back to Derek?
Not now, Sister Odette.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay. So it's like, don't go there.
I could reflect on them, but afraid of lawsuits.
Let's go back to Derek. Derek, you were summarizing the recent developments, and again, as being a responsible host and the person who the writs come to, I just want us to be careful with our pronouncement. So you said you wanted to clarify a point. Let's hear the clarification.
Okay, let's come to terms with what the politics and the campaign finance and campaign politics how that is going to take shape in the next 2 years. You need to have, first of all, enough finances to, 1, support some of your candidates, 2, provide all the paraphernalia, 3, to basically make sure the organization and management of the campaign, 4, the media by both digital as well as traditional. That does not come easily. Normally, there are all types of arrangements made regardless of the political party, and this is not a Grenada phenomena. This is a political phenomena right across the world. So being able to buy support, buy influence, who you sleep with politically to get support for your leadership, that is the norm of running political campaigns. You don't tomorrow morning just wake up and decide you're going to run for office. There is a lot of backroom planning and negotiation that occurs. Understand what you're trying to put forward to the population. A party called the NNP that has basically won 3 terms at least with no elected opposition per se, a leader from the time of the revolutionary days who came out of that, Dr. Keith Mitchell with 37 years plus experience. When you consider what is at stake for the Grenada population, you have situations of how do you get your tourism product back on track? How do you vary the tourism product? How do you diversify the economy away from tourism? How do you create jobs for the next set of generations? So the kids who are 16 now would be eligible to vote when they're 18 in the next 2 years, and you have the bulk of your population at this point being below the age of 35. So the politics of saying, well, I am young, so I will get support, does not necessarily work that way. Because 1, it's not a presidential election where you get mass support, because people vote for leader, candidate, and party. And 2, understand that you're fighting a statistician who runs political numbers. So it's really wonderful that the country has an option of new leadership. But when you get into this political game, you have to have a very thick skin and know how you're managing this process, because you're fighting people like Tobias. You already have candidate problems in certain constituencies, different people posturing for different seats. And let's be clear, putting all the disgruntled voices in one political entity does not necessarily translate that into votes on election day.
All right, so Mrs. Payne-Banfield, I see you in deep thought.
Well, let's put it this way. Mr. Ramsamouj is a very experienced political analyst. And I could see from his remarks regarding the constituencies and the that kind of thing, that he is studying the situation very closely. I don't know what the lineup will be for the NDC in terms of the candidates. I don't know. I would think that a person like Claudette Joseph would be a candidate for the town. But she might just surprise us and do a north something, either a northeast or northwest. She wouldn't do a northwest. I doubt whether she'll do northwest St. George's. But just imagine you get a lineup and you don't get Claudette Joseph in the executive of NDC. You don't get a person like oh Lord, I'm thinking of him in terms of his nickname. That's a bad thing in Grenada. Kennedy Frederick.
Frederick or Roberts?
Roberts,
right.
Kennedy Roberts. You're thinking of, how come? I mean, you would have thought that he would have been in the executive of the NDC. But then somebody says to me, well, most likely he's a candidate. So you're thinking about other people now who might be candidates and who have been very active in the party, in the NDC. But who knows? Is it a hidden agenda, or they are coming with more surprises? It seems they came with a surprise with Deacon Mitchell as leader, and have they got more surprises? And would these surprises make sense in terms of winning seats?
Okay. Mr. Ramsamouj, as you look back on the periods when you have worked in Grenada and in several of the other Caribbean islands that you have worked in, what do the trends tell us? So for instance, you may want to reflect on Antigua for us, and we had the legacy of the birds. And we have that situation where people just go one line. I think Compton was like that in St. Lucia for quite a while as well, but we have places where, probably in St. Lucia, where people are not as tolerant in terms of going along the same line. What causes the differences there? Because we think we want Caribbean people.
We're not one Caribbean people, so let's not kid ourselves. You've had a number of strong political leaders who have been able to cross leadership from one generation to another and keep the party in office. We see that with the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, first under the Birds and then now under Gaston Brown. We have seen continuity for quite a couple of years, for example, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves in St. Vincent. We have seen movement of new leadership emerging, like Andrew Holness in Jamaica, and being able to keep it. The challenge for the NNP would be how they transfer political loyalty and political party from Dr. Mitchell to the NNP and whoever the new leader may or may not be, if there is going to be a new leader. What is also interesting on the NDC side, and one of your guests just alluded to one of the names, would the NDC be able to put a coalition that has enough common political thread that will probably include people like Terry Forrester, people like, as you say, Kennedy Roberts, people like Patrick Antoine? Is there room for Nazim Burke? How will Peter David react to that? So there are a number of dynamic people now. We have individuals who are in pursuit of political power. But do they have a commonality of a political agenda that will address the concerns of the younger population, the people who, the growing middle class, the young people, where are they going to get jobs? So that's the issue. The issue is, you know what the NNP gave you for the last, let's just say 20 years, what their positions were, where they were good and where they fell bad, where they fell down. Now the question is, do these powerful alpha males, because they're all alpha males, are they willing to consume their ego to create a political agenda that can serve a full term?
A very good question, and you made the point about generational leadership. Right, and we did have on the 30th of October a call from a pastor, a very outspoken pastor here, talking about the need for a more youthful look in the new National Party as far as its leadership is concerned. Let's go to that insert and we'll continue the discussions.
Keith Mitchell need to find a successor. He need to find it quick. At his age, at this time, the NMP need to find a successor, somebody that would succeed him. It is important for us as a country that we see that continuous leadership coming out of our political party. Is necessary that my good friend Dr. Mitchell find a success, and fast.
Mrs. Payne Banfield?
Well, I don't know. I hear, again, it is alleged that Dr. Mitchell is looking for a successor. I don't know if the process by which the NNP chooses its leaders is the same as the NDC. As I heard Terry Forrester pronouncing that it's so different. I don't know whether the leader now, the present leader, Dr. Mitchell, would say, I anoint you, and everybody will say, yes, leader, we following that, or whether there is a vote among the members of the party for a new leader. I don't know.
What's your recommended process, Mrs. Payne Banfield?
What's my recommendation for?
As far as the process, what should the process be like?
Well, it certainly should be democratic. Having gone through this thing myself, I was supposed to be running for political leader of the GULP, and my view on the matter was that I was not going to stand in the way of somebody else. In short, if there was somebody more worthy of the task, I'd give up.
Shirley, I see you smiling. I want to take those thoughts out of your brain, although you may not want to share them, even if it's like a shade of it.
Well, I think the leader of the NNP, there's a call for a handover, somebody more youthful maybe. While there's a need to have that mix in terms of youth for succession planning, I think Dr. Mitchell is very experienced and he is in a good place to train or give guidance to younger members, and it could very well be a woman, and I hope it's a woman that emerges in the NMP.
I'm here and I'm thinking, news headline tomorrow. News headline tomorrow. She is hoping it's a woman. You're involved with the Grenada National Organization of Women and the YWCA. And Derek made a very important point of cross-generational leadership. And you have also spoke about that point. Tell us about your experience and how important that was for the YWCA, the women who led the organization many years ago, to transfer leadership to young people like yourself.
Well, YWCA, being an affiliate of World YWCA, they promote the intergenerational mix. So you have persons from different age levels, obviously. We have the youth, we have middle age or young adults as well, and we have the, I don't want to call them old because it's YWCA, the more mature persons.
The gerontocracy.
The gerontocracy.
Yes.
The gerontocracy.
Yes. So
the word of the night is gerontocracy. Blossom, that's a word for tomorrow morning.
Yes. So they are able to ensure that the traditional things that they did, what they stand for, their advocacies is handed down to the younger person and is not lost. In terms of the young people, they now will bring the new ideas. Now with technology, digitalization, and that technological aspect, they actually assist in that area. So there's a mix. So you're still able to attract members, you know, and more youthful members. At least if there's no youth, then you're not growing.
If there is no youth, you're not growing. Some talking points here. So we will continue those deliberations right here on Beyond the Headlines. This is GBN Elections Watch. The election's not due until 2023, but we have our finger on the pulse. This evening, we're looking ahead, talking politics with political analyst Trinidadian Mr. Derek Ramsarouche. He is based in Suriname, living in Suriname. And we have Mrs. Gloria Payne Banfield. She is a retired public worker. She wants to be certain that we use just that word, nothing else, retired public worker. And of course, the very useful Miss Shirlene Herbert. She's up and coming. Who knows, we may have to pull this tape out 10 years from now. This is Beyond the Headlines. We'll be back after these messages.
Just a reminder, the global pandemic is not over. Office Pros and markers are still here to protect you. Available are several versions of touchless hand sanitizer and hand soap dispensers, dispenser stands, paper towel and toilet paper dispensers, and thermometers. Also available, hand sanitizing gel, sanitizing solution, hand soap, Lysol products, face masks, and gloves, all offered at the best price on the market and backed by a full warranty and protection plan with free installation. We are located on the Woodlands Main Road. Call Office Pros on 444-2393 or markers on 439-2393. You can also visit the Facebook page for more information. And never forget to remember, I, Mr. Markers, would never forsake you. Believe that.
Eat safe foods after an emergency or disaster. Unsafe foods can make you sick, even if it looks and smells normal. Throw away foods that come into contact with flood waters, have an unusual smell, color, or texture, and foods in damaged, rusted, or swollen cans. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council in collaboration with the Ministry of Health with support from the Pan American Health Organization.
Introducing Color by Sissons. 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 Color by Sissons.
We support you at every stage of your life. for business.
For your education.
For your financial freedom.
For that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the Communal. Contact us today.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements, or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Fallage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. As we said prior to the commercial break, we're looking ahead. Elections Watch begins now on GBN. It's still 2023, some miles away, but in Grenada, there's never a dull moment. You never know what will happen. GBN is keeping its fingers on the pulse. This evening, we're talking politics, and before the break, we dealt with cross-generational transfer. Mrs. Payne Banfield, you're not buying too much on this youth thing. Apparently not.
When you say youth thing, it's conceptually, youth has a place in the whole society. Young people and old people should mix. They should be the intergenerational mix that will keep the whole thing going. But this thing about people you're old and therefore stand back is our turn. There's a lot of nonsense as far as I am concerned. Youth is a state of mind too, you know. Because let me say, I ain't see Keith Mitchell as no old man, you know. When you look at him, he look young. How he behaves is young. So I don't understand when people talk about, oh, park up these old people lane and they done their time and all that. It's a state of mind.
So surely I understand that there was a very intriguing development in one of your organizations where somebody seemed to think, let them old people stay in a corner, and that caused a stir.
Call them veterans.
Sister Odette, we do need the youth along with the more mature people. You can't take away from their experience, and they are able to give you guidance in a lot of areas. You know, sometimes the youth full of energy, so that's why I said the mix. So you need a little of both, right?
Okay. A good mix of both. Let's go back to Derek Ramsey. He is based in Suriname, as we said. He's from Trinidad and Tobago. He's been following politics and did a lot of work on the ground here in Grenada for several years. Derek, we're looking at the whole issue of politics, but politics is just a word for a lot of things that lie underneath when we peel the layers. You mentioned earlier the pandemic economy. What are some of the issues that people need to look at as they start trying to decide who should form the next government?
Okay, thank you for the question. One caveat before I answer that is let's clearly understand a call by the public disenchanted voices calling for a change of leadership is not necessarily reflected by a call inside of any political party for a new leader. So let's make clear what could be a national perspective may not necessarily be the internal call inside the NNP. Now let's talk about the pandemic economy.
But wait,
we have clearly seen
Derek,
that
let me just interject here, because you made a very important point. So the call in the public sphere might not be the call within the political sphere, the political party. So your thought maybe is that if the NNP is happy with Dr. Keith Mitchell, the party should just keep him and not necessarily listen to what people like Pastor Sanchez are saying.
No, I am not saying that. I am simply saying we must make the distinction between what is put in the public space by John Public may not be the same sentiment within the political entity. That's what I'm saying. We say you got to be careful with all the misinformation and interpretation as opposed to factual. But I want to talk about the pandemic economy because that's important.
Derek, hold on there. Stick a pin. My mother has a thing she would say. You say this to say what?
I say this to say, is there any documented evidence that within the NNP, is there a call for new leadership? Because as it is now, there is no vacancy. And for you to talk about a new leader, there must be a reason, or there must be a vacancy created. As well as, let's be clear, all political parties in the region manipulate their internal democratic processes to favor candidate A or candidate B. And more, you cannot hand over leadership. Leadership must be earned. So you need the combination of thinking. You're talking about change, political change. Political change is different from changing a leader.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, I'm glad you tacked back on that point, because you mentioned when you delivered on cross-generational leadership, you mentioned some names. You highlighted Patrick Antoine, you highlighted Peter David. There has been discussion that the Honorable Peter David entered the New National Party some time ago on the premise that he would be the heir apparent and probably would be the youthful source or the youthful well that some people thought they'll be dipping into by now. What are your thoughts on Peter David as a probable new political leader of the New National Party?
Those things cannot be determined in isolation in a closed-door session. And also, you have to win the political trust of the normal NNP persons. You're competing with people like Gregory Bowen. You're competing with people like Emmeline Pierre, who have served their time. I've also heard one of your guests talking about a female leader, a female politician. So let's be clear. It's one thing for people having ambition. It's another thing to belong to a political entity that has a clear direction of how you deal with healthcare, how you deal with education, how you deal with poverty alleviation, how you deal with rural infrastructure, how you deal with the agriculture sector, the tourism sector, how you deal with Carriacou and Petit Martinique as well. And all of those, as we talk about the pandemic economy, I want to bring it back to that because that clearly demonstrates
but
the need to recurrent revenue.
That might take a segment by itself, and I don't want to lose certain points. Mrs. Payne-Banfield, do you think that a Peter David, for instance, could be somebody to replace Dr. Keith Mitchell? Because that was something people were looking forward to when he joined the party. People thought that, he's going there and the party is going to be handed over to him. What are your thoughts on Peter David as a probable political leader of the New National Party?
I never thought of it.
Why not?
I never thought of it because, you see, there are a lot of old, and when I say old, I don't mean
by age.
I mean old timers in terms of people who have been in the party for a long time, solid NNPites, who would resent that. A person just coming in and, vying for leadership right away and all of that. He has to do his time. He has to earn his chips. He has to, and I think that he is going about it the right way by getting a ministry like the Ministry of Agriculture. When he was Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there was nothing. No Minister of Foreign Affairs wins an election, tell you honest truth. He hasn't got the time for the people. And look at Ben Jones. He was a Minister of Foreign Affairs. He lost. And you look at people who get too involved in the foreign affairs. What Peter wants, agriculture, he got agriculture, and he's going to use that base, I suspect. But I never thought of him as being a possible leader of the NNP. Tell you the honest truth.
What makes you so convinced that he wanted agriculture and that he was not thrust into that position?
Well, if he was thrust into that position, he did something to maneuver himself into that position, because I tell you, that's a key ministry. It's a ministry for people.
And what do you say to people who are confident that he wanted to keep the Foreign Affairs Ministry? What to that school of thought?
Well, I don't know. I think he was a very capable Minister of Foreign Affairs, but I didn't think that politically it was the best thing for him.
Okay, so I want to cross back to Derek. Charlene, I'll come to you, but while we're on this track, Charlene made the point that she's hoping that the next leader of the New National Party is a woman. What are your thoughts on Dr. Clarice Modeste Cohen emerging, Mrs. Payne-Banfield, as the next political leader of the New National Party?
Well, my only comment on that is that it is possible, because she might be the one of the few that will win their seats.
Point to ponder. Derek, what are your thoughts on Dr. Clarice Modeste Cohen emerging as the next political leader of the New National Party? The search is on, according to the party.
Odette, with the greatest of respect, I think this kind of conversation about personalities is wrong. You're doing a disservice to when you're talking about the politics of Grenada. The fundamental issue is not about gender. It is not about age. It is about ability to guide Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique during this economic crisis. Because if you have leaders and your country is broke, if you cannot manage to give your people the jobs they need or food, then it is irrelevant. As one, there is no leadership crisis inside the NNP. There is a lot of speculation which occurs throughout the world at this point in time. Age is not an issue. The question is, do you have the quality type of leadership to provide a better quality of life? Again, it's not, we're dealing with the politics of personality, the Peter David or the Clarice Modeste on these individuals. But that is not really the fundamental issue. The fundamental issue is your country is going to go through a rough economic time. You need to have a clearly defined program of activities to keep your people healthy and safe, and for them to generate enough money to avoid getting poor.
So that is the issue. Are you saying, Derek, that Dr. Clarice Modeste Cohen is not qualified for that job? And also, in case you missed it, the New National Party announced last week that it has set up a committee to search for a replacement for the present political leader and Prime Minister. So I'm just asking you, are you dismissing Dr. Clarice Modeste Cohen as
I am not doing that. I am simply saying the cherry picking of individuals when the process has not been done is premature. Let it take its process. Let's see what the options are, because you may have more than two leaders, more than two political parties, and see who basically understands the politics, have the connectivity on the ground, because the media manipulation and speculation globally does not really assist the people in being properly informed. And let me give you an example. Let me just go one further. How could 235 votes voting for one man decide the option alternative to a country? There you have thousands of voters. The NDC was a strong political party. The NNP is a strong political party. But when you only have less than 500 people voting for your leader, what does that tell you about your party's organization and preparedness for an election? You have a very experienced person on your panel who ran political campaigns. I know that's even insufficient for indoor agents or outdoor agents to run an election campaign. And if you bring in new leadership, where is your vibrant base?
And if you already have the vibrant base and you want to continue building on that base, that's the question we're going to answer when we come back. We take a commercial break. This is Beyond the Headlines. Do stay with us.
What does it take to be an amazing woman? Lots of me time. Amazing women are classy, fancy, and a little sassy. It's the drink for me. Cheers! Sometimes you've got to show them who's boss. Alpha male? Nah, alpha females are more amazing. Cheers to securing the bag. We make time for ourselves, for work, friends, and we certainly make time for passion. We're simply amazing. Amazing cream liqueur for the amazing woman in you.
And Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Synatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business. Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Fall Edge, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Darling, would you like some tea? I've made your favorite.
Well, thank you, darling. I'm here finishing my blog post to help homeowners understand their electricity bills. The left side of your bill shows the rates for electricity and the government charges. The middle portion shows the number of units you've consumed, plus the history of your usage over the last 8 months. And the right side shows how much you're being charged.
I really think people are going to value this information.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada. Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
You can now send a gift card to your loved ones locally or internationally thanks to the food fair. Here's how it works. Click the gift card icon or banner, customize your gift card by choosing from different templates, dollar amount, and personalized messages. You can also upload your personal design. Select Add to Cart and complete transaction. Allow relatives and friends to pick up an item or items at the food fair for the dollar value. Gift card. It's that easy.
You have been waiting on it all year. Now it's your chance to make this Christmas better than ever. Get the extra cash you need with a Make This Christmas Better loan from the GUT Credit Union. Get up to $50,000 to celebrate your Christmas and make your holiday dreams come true. Home improvements, new furniture, a vehicle, debt consolidation, or even a vacation. We can help you get there. Yes, you can. Make this Christmas better with the GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
And welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening we're looking ahead, looking at politics, looking at recent developments and what could the future hold. We've had some very interesting talking points so far. We have from Suriname this evening, Trinidadian political analyst Mr. Derek Ramsarouche in studio. We have Mrs. Gloria Payne Banfield. She's a retired diplomat, former leader of the Grenada United Labour Party, and she's a retired public worker, her title that she loves best. And we have the youthful Charlene Herbert. She is a volunteer with the Grenada National Organization of Women, also a member of the YWCA, and she's a trade unionist. 25 years of banking and finance experience. So we're happy to have our panelists with us this evening. Derek, let's come back to you. You were making a very important point before we cross the commercial break, having to do with the base and the capacity of potential leaders.
Yes, if you look at what are the challenges in the next 2 to 7 years that your country will face? How are they going to feed themselves? How are they going to deal with the environment? If you look at, for example, the opportunities that COP presents itself, COP26 in Glasgow, how you deal with the environment, how you deal with hurricanes, how do you deal with resilience funding, how do you deal with basically globalization, getting more and more different types of passengers? Do you change your some product? These are the kinds of challenges your new leader or your existing leader will face. This is not a time your new ideas are needed, but understanding how these ideas operate, because you cannot take a chance with people's lives. Odette, I just want to say to you, I've been in Grenada, in and out of Grenada for 25 years. I have the pleasure of owning a small piece of land in Carriacou. So it is in my personal interest to ensure that Grenada gets its economy right. And it is critical you develop your tourist product in the Grenadines, to run through the Grenadines, not just Carriacou, but Martinique. So you need a leader with vision. The digitalization of the economy is also critical. And as your country moves forward, you need competitive leaders who can bring value beyond their ego.
Leaders who can bring value beyond their ego.
Beyond their ego.
Charlene, he touched on some very critical issues, that of climate change. We've had the COP26 conference just in its closing stages. And as you look at women, you were looking at the socioeconomic impacts, decisions made at the top and how they filter down to women. The issue of climate change is important, isn't it?
Yes, climate change, a critical issue. It's much talked about. We need to ensure that the funding is there to provide those safety nets and ensure that women, children as vulnerable groups, that they're taken care of. We need to ensure that our policies, the decisions we take, and that's too at the very highest level, the politics, that's how the politics can affect us. So we want to ensure that the leaders we choose, that these things are very much at the forefront of their minds and their planning. And we have to, as the people, listen in and ensure that the decisions they make, that they do not adversely affect us.
Okay, great. And to remind our viewers and listeners, if you want to chime in on tonight's conversation, the number you can call is 440-1252. 440-1252. Mrs. Payne Banfield, one of the issues that must be addressed according to feedback that we've had in the public domain is that of voter registration. People get all hyped and excited when leaders are chosen, but when you come to the election, so we have a graphic here which looks at the last general election, and basically we have the green because the New National Party had a clean sweep, and that happened in the last two general elections. What we find happening, if we look back at that vote, there was 57,364 votes cast. There was 58.91%, so call that 59% in favor of the NNP, 40% in favor of the NDC. The NDC, 33,792 votes, 23,249 to the NDC. And some people were saying, well, where was the rest of Grenada, the eligible population to vote?
Well, I don't think that the people who voted or who didn't vote, let's put it, a lot of people didn't vote. They affected the outcome of the elections. And I don't think too that people, I hear people saying, I'm not voting. And it seems so strange to me. This is a thing, this is a privilege, this is a right that we have to vote. No matter your party didn't win, but you should vote. You should participate in the elections. And a lot of people don't. And they don't because they think it's a waste of time. Why go and participate in an election and vote, and somebody else gonna win, and you know, it's a spoil sport sort of thing, you know.
All right, and we would like to look at the issue of voter registration, but we have a caller on the line. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Hi, pleasant good night.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good night, Mr. Mitchell. Once again, congratulations. I love the fact that we have youthful power right now. And secondly, I'm very disappointed with the person running the program, because I find that they made a very disrespectful statement in the sense of referring to you as a young boy. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead. We're listening.
Yes. In sense of referring to you as a young boy and using the notion of people making the statement. But let me just say that if it was the Prime Minister that was sitting there right now, I know that she wouldn't say, hey, that this old man is here, and so on and so on and so on. And to Miss Linda Stricker, again, we always hear these statements about youth, and there is no place for youth. It seems like we want a bungalow old heads, a bungalow old candles that are burning out to forever make decisions that they are not going to be there to face the circumstances for or the consequences for. So I love the fact that we have youthful power. And on your ending statement about the state of emergency, healthcare, and the high cost of living, and the minimum wage. These are the things that I am a youth man is really concerned about. So thank you.
Thank you sincerely for your feedback. Mrs. Payne-Banfield, the issue of voter registration, I know you said that's something that is critical that you would like to have addressed.
Yes, because we're hearing all sorts of rumors. And while we should not, we should go directly to the source of the whole business of registration, the supervisor of elections, and get from him what is going on. And it is alleged that there is a website where you can vote, you can register online. I don't know how true this is, but it is alleged that this is happening.
But
the supervisor of elections addressed a group of concerned persons and told them that he was not aware of this, but it is alleged. So what will happen now? You have a whole set of people who are going to vote, perhaps online too. I don't know if it's going to get to that stage. And there are a number of things that have happened in the last election. The report of the OAS that was given has not been addressed at all.
Such as?
Such as the ballot paper. Mm-hmm. In some instances, it was claimed that it was so porous that you could see what you voted, how you voted. People said they saw the ballot, and if they could see it, other people could see it. And it's supposed to be a secret ballot. Okay. That was claimed that happened. So who is addressing that?
Charlene, I hear you murmuring in agreement. Is that something you've heard as well?
Yes, I heard that.
Okay. All right. Derek, the whole issue, we have a call on the line. Let's cross to the caller first. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Hi, good night.
Hi, good night.
Yeah, I'm baffled. I'm very much baffled. The issue of leadership and the leader. I think we're confusing people. First of all, a leader don't empower himself or herself to pass the baton on to the next generation. Their whole objective and modus operandi is to make sure that organization, that the leader, the people that the lead is in a position where they can manage themselves properly. So if what we have is a leader, then it means that something is wrong somewhere. Up to now, a person being in power, they cannot find somebody who can lead, and you call that a leader. So that leader is supposed to have that vision and the capacity to pass that knowledge on to somebody else. And they're saying they're trying to find some committee now to find a leader. Something is wrong with us in Grenada.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Let's cross to Derek. Derek, as you have worked across the Caribbean region, what has your experience been with the level of voter registration and active participation in electoral processes?
The level has been no different from the global levels, like in the US or the UK. You normally will get anywhere between 60 and 70% of your voters coming out to vote. There will normally be about 30-35% of people choosing not to vote. But I want to warn the population. We cannot put credibility to rumors and allegations by saying that you give it a life of its own. Let's deal with the facts. And there are courts, and there are all of the EBC in the region have done a very decent job of conducting elections. We're not seeing the challenges like what we see in Haiti. And therefore, this type of rhetoric without fact, where hearsay, them say, innuendos, while freedom of expression is good, responsibility is also very important. I know that I only thought the program was for 1 hour. You have to forgive me. I have to step back now. But thank you very much for sharing your forum with me. And I want to wish all panelists all the best. I just want to leave with one thing, if I may, that I would like to see more women participating in the decision-making process, especially when a different kind of sensitivity is required to keep our societies going.
Thank you so much, Derek, and thanks for spending the time with us, and we look forward to hearing from you again. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, please go right ahead.
Right. Good evening to the panelists. And something is worrying me with what is being said. I heard Ms. Banfield say that it's alleged that people can vote online and that the parliamentary office say they don't know about it. But if the parliamentary office doesn't know about it, how then? Because if you vote on, you can register online. If you register online, do you have to go to the parliamentary office? How to put it on the voting list so that you know the total amount of persons that will be voting? I can't see how it could be alleged and the office personnel is not aware of it. I mean, are we just saying things? Are we saying anything we hear that alleged? We saying that, or I mean, Ms. Banfield is a person that I know have a lot of sense in administration. If you register online, they have to be marked in the office. So the office must be aware of the total amount of persons that will register and how the person register.
Mrs. Spain-Banfield, you want to clarify the point?
That's the point, because if the supervisor of elections, when challenged, sorry, call. I'm trying to explain to you, the supervisor, when challenged about the registration and he said he knew nothing about it. The question was then, how would you know how many people are voting? If you know nothing about it, but people are registering online.
Okay. So that is something that needs to be looked into, Mrs. Spain-Banfield, so probably some information could be forwarded to some people who could get underneath that and see what's happening there.
I know of the existence of a group of people who go to the supervisor of elections from time to time to keep abreast with what is happening. I know of that they exist. I have been one of the persons accompanying them.
So it's been an official complaint?
Yes, it was asked, and he claimed that it doesn't exist. The website doesn't exist.
But can you point us to what the name of the website is, so probably we could start doing some digging tomorrow?
Yeah, I think you should start digging tomorrow. You could dig by me tomorrow if you want, but I'm not talking online tonight.
Oh, okay, so you would let us out into the public domain. Fair enough. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, please.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, go on. We're hearing you.
Hi, I am so honored and thank you very much. I'm actually calling from Toronto, Canada.
Nice.
And I'm really excited. One of the things that I want to bring forth is the economy of Grenada has to be diversified. And we need a new vigor. We need a new energy. We need new blood to help to diversify the economy. I have utmost respect for anyone that wants to get into politics because I think it is a very thankless job. It doesn't pay a lot of money. But I think we need to really look at how can we diversify our economy. This pandemic should have been an awakening call for all political parties in Grenada to realize the importance of not relying just on one area. I have to say, one of the areas that I'm really concerned about is healthcare and seniors. So I am looking forward to what is going to be brought forth in the next general election to ensure that Grenada's healthcare system can withstand another pandemic, but at the same time that our seniors, our most vulnerable population, the ones that have sweat and work to build what we enjoy today as Grenada, will be able to enjoy a retirement. How on earth could you tell me that people after 40 years of working does not have a proper pension? It is an embarrassment, and these are going to be some of the things that I'm looking forward to. As someone that is in the diaspora, I am looking forward. I'm excited about possible changes that are coming to Grenada. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless Grenada.
Thank you so much, and thanks for dialing in all the way from Toronto. And so that caller highlighted healthcare, looking at pensions, and a whole lot of other issues. Charlene, if you had an opportunity to speak with candidates who are presenting themselves for the next general elections in Grenada, and you have to pick, let's say, 5 issues. It doesn't have to be 5, but what are the critical issues you think need to be addressed by people to make Grenada move forward?
If I were to borrow from the caller, healthcare, I think is very basic, and Grenada, we really should have better healthcare given how much the Cuban would have assisted us. You know, sometimes I feel bad when you hear complaints about the healthcare system, and I really think we should do better in the area of health. Poverty alleviation. We have a lot of people who are struggling. We notice a lot of food stalls, barbecue here and there. A lot of these small businesses popping up on the roadsides, but I guess people need to survive. People need to live. You know, we have children to feed. Education is another priority area. Agriculture, we should be able to do more in terms of feeding ourselves. Sometimes we find, even when we go to the market, we may find that things are expensive, but we did not even put a peace tree outside our door, you know, so we have to find ways and means to survive. You said 5?
All right. It looks as though you would like to pause the counting, and let's just do that so we can take in another caller. We can attend to that call. Caller, good evening. Hello. Another caller, we can attend to that call. Caller, good evening.
Yes, good night. Hello, good night.
Go ahead, please.
Good night.
All right, so that person has not muted their device. When they mute the device, we'll get back to them. Mrs. Payne-Banfield, what would be your 5 top issues? And just so that the caller know, you need to mute your device. When we cross you can listen on the telephone. Mrs. Payne-Banfield?
My 5 priorities?
Yes.
I tell you, I can't boil them down to 5, but I will try. Healthcare is important, but you know what is more important? Nutrition. Because we should have what you call preventative healthcare, so that you don't go to the hospital. The healthcare should be divided into the curative side, which is the hospital, and the preventative side, where you don't go to the hospital. And if people eat well, and they exercise, and they encourage the children to play games and be physical, swimming on an island like this, where we're near to the sea, every youngster should be swimming. Priority.
Well, we ask you to just... You have 4 more. 4 more. But we have a caller who we would like to entertain at this time. Caller, good evening.
Yes, good night.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Odette.
Good night.
Now, when you really look at the situation in Grenada, the people in Grenada appreciate our leader, Dr. Keith Mitchell. And hence the reason why they vote for him so all over generally. And the new leader came in just recently, and I think they started up on the wrong footing because of the fact that they based the thing directly on age. I feel that the throne is attempt of leadership because age don't have nothing to do with that. I believe it's policy, and I believe it's the way you manage and your ability to manage. And if the young leader who professed to be so bright and intelligent started up on that note, I feel that the throne is an attempt of leadership because the people in Grenada love Dr. Keith Mitchell. And if the executive body felt that they would have voted him out or put somebody to run against him. But we, as members of the executive, we asked him to stay there because we felt that he has the know-how and the ability to control. And it is not in the NDC's power to tell us how to manage our party.
All right,
what they have to do is to advise their leader in the direction in which he's supposed to manage.
All right. So there we have it, Mrs. Spain Banfield, as to the processes and the choice of people, and that is the beauty of a democratic society.
Definitely.
You wanted to continue on your 5 points.
On my 5 points.
You have 4 more.
Definitely there should be something about food security. Because, and this is not only the grain of primary products, but also the processing and preservation of food. You know, when we grow things like peas, all the different peas, black-eyed peas, pigeon peas, and so we could dry them and store them up and preserve them for a day of where we don't have anything.
Okay. And I have an alert, Mrs. Bain Banfield, you'll have to keep giving us in drips and drabs. I have an alert that we have another call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Greetings. How are you?
I am well, thanks.
And all the best to your guests and the viewing, I guess, and the listening public. But for the very first time, I want to make a pronouncement. I guess my name is J.K. Robert, Joseph Robert. And I'm very, very concerned about one of my babies, the Constitution in general, and the electoral office, which is a constitutional issue itself. And the point was raised about registration, and I would say the integrity of the electoral office and voting. I want to put it here that the question asked, and I would like for you, the journalists, to do some research. I've written extensively, I don't like to talk about myself, on the whole issue of the Constitution, in particular the electoral office, calling for forensic investigation into that constitutional entity. And also in particular, I had written an article, a series of articles, is Grenada Parliamentary Elections Office conniving or forthright? It was done in more than one part. And in particular, the question that you asked of your panel, the website that you can vote online, https/ on this little www.gov/PEO/REGISTRATION registration. There are 2 websites at the time in which I was writing this article. The one I gave you plus the official PEO Grenada, the Parliamentary Election Office. That article came sometime in 2020 in October. Now the truth is, social media can give fake news and misinformation, which we embark on, but the whole idea of this www, the World Wide Web, is to mislead us. So what happened, anyone going presently on this government website or portal, you may not be lucky to go there. You know why? Different things come up to cause you to resist. Say it is not what? It's not safe. Or the information then, when I have written an article, may have removed. But forensic investigation and people who are deep in IT can go and recover, should be able to recover. So I want you, GBN, Sister Odette, and others, the time has come for you to do some in-depth investigation. I've written an article calling for suing the Parliamentary Election Office, suing the Supervisor of Election, suing. I also written a letter to the Governor General to give an account of what is happening. The Constitution talks about the Parliamentary Election Office supposed to report to Parliament. When last was that done? Go on the internet. Just type in articles by J.K. Roberts. First time I'm saying that on the election. And it will see the series of articles I have writing challenging the state of affairs of our electoral office. If I'm at fault, because I'm not trained in that, I'm asking persons out there to come and help me to defend whatever legal action that be taken against me. My name is J.K. Roberts. Thank you very much. And I hope the people and institutions, civil society, and some political entities open their eyes. And it's time to address what is happening in the electoral offices. And I will end by saying, this thing about the voter's card is very critical. And we have been missing the boat, and allowing the Parliamentary Election Office to give us information, which is not totally true, but there's some half-truth in it. That propaganda to get the population misled. And this should not be tolerated. And if because of discussion tonight, and I got the chance and the bonus to speak, I hope it will be the beginning of reviewing and taking action and improving on our electoral process. And let us not get bamboozled by saying we had a referendum, we had a choice.
Okay, caller, thank you so much. I know you did try to sign off earlier. Thank you so much for that contribution. And it is a matter I'm certain that our journalistic team will be looking into. We're getting ready to wrap up tonight's discussion. Mrs. Payne-Banfield, as you're looking at your clock, yes, time flies when you're having in-depth, interesting discussion. So as we get ready to wrap it up this evening, you want to continue looking at the points. I think you need to list 3 more. If you think there's need
I have 3 more.
Okay, you only have 1 more.
1 more? Oh my goodness. Well, then you should have given me 10. But
go ahead, use the pen.
Overall, what we need is what we call good governance. A system of governance where transparency, where accountability, and a number of what we call good principles would exist throughout. And including, and under that caveat, I want to see a place where people feel that the institutions that have been created by our Constitution are respected. And so that people don't go roughshod over everybody and do anything they want because them is the government. No. We must have some sense of adherence to the principles enshrined in the fundamental rights and freedoms, section 1 in the Constitution, freedom of expression, freedom of association,
All right.
Freedom of conscience.
Can that be taken away from someone? Freedom of conscience?
No, but you could deny them.
In what way?
In what way? Take, for instance, most of the time, freedom of conscience is the belief in religion and all of that, and you could discriminate against certain groups of people.
All right, so
I won't go further into it because it's a cultural thing. And we talk about the Baptists, and we talk about the spiritual Baptists, and we talk about the Orisha religion, and all those things. There could be that kind of discrimination if people want to take it up. But you see, I don't suppose Grenada is interested in really anything.
But that's not true. And the reason you perked up my interest, I'm looking at the time, and we definitely need to wrap up. However, we have 2 inserts that we had prepared to use tonight, speaking to that very issue. I don't know if you heard the musings of Bishop Dave King of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the West Indies, who themed his piece of 22 minutes long, I have a suspicion, and he spoke about that very thing, and saying that COVID was not the biggest problem or challenge that Grenada has faced, but that the church has been under assault and attack. So it seems as though you're on a button, but it looks as though we may have to leave that for another program in the interest of time. As we get ready to wrap up this evening, Mrs. Spain Banfield, you've been involved in politics for a very long time, served in the days of the flamboyant Eric Gary. One of the issues that came up...
After you left.
Yes.
After you left, that's when I got into politics, not before. While I was a public servant, I was a public servant, a good neutral public servant.
And that's just what I was alluding to, nothing else, no ulterior motives there. Serving as a public worker, like that's your title, that's your banner that you fly proudly. So people have been speaking about youth and Deacon Mitchell being so youthful. But people have pointed out that he's 44 and not 40, as somebody alluded to earlier in the program.
Someone said he was 40.
Right. So, and the age at which Sir Eric got into the political fray, and Morris Bishop, one of the...
Well, they were in their 30s.
They were in their 30s.
And 20s, I think. Gary might have been in his 20s.
I heard that Sir Eric Gary was in his 20s.
Yeah.
And Morris Bishop was in his 30s. So, the Honorable Mr. Deacon Mitchell is no spring chicken.
Is no spring chicken? No, certainly not.
All right. So as we get ready to wrap it up, I have a question. Mrs. Spain Banfield, I'm going to Charlene first because I figure she might shy away from me. So Charlene, there's been a lot of discussion about the need for women and the need for youth in politics. Do you think you may want to enter into the political arena actively and not just being in the trenches doing the work?
Well, I think given where I'm at right now as a trade unionist, politics is not separate. So I think I am in a place where I'm able to make a contribution and impact people as a trade unionist.
What a political...
I think I'm doing that.
What a politically correct answer. I salute you, my sister.
Thank you.
Mrs. Spain Banfield, the very youthful Mrs. Spain Banfield. I walked into the studio and I was like, wait, who's this 16-year-old person that in the studio waiting here?
Well, I told you, age is a concept, you know, it's
age
conceptual.
Is a concept. As an old high school girl, I must say, I'm just so proud of that youthful vein that runs through all of us. No, Shirley, don't get jealous. We're all sisters. Whether we're from the convent, Wesley College, wherever we're from, Happy Hill Secondary, Boca, we all, you know, sisters, all are we. Mrs. Spain Banfield, is that it, or you might throw your hat in the ring again?
No. Definitely not again. There was more politics in my party than there was in the nation for me. I had the challenges in the party. And that's why I know what people might be going through in their separate parties. You know, this what they call infighting. That's a word now that people using a lot. There's infighting in so-and-so party, you know. I can't deal with that. I want to be a Grenadian patriot. And anything that is in the interest of Grenada, I'm going to say, go for it.
So infighting is nothing new. It's in every party.
Yeah, they always, yes.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen.
And leader politics too is also another thing. Leader politics and charisma. You have to have charisma. And that's what Keith Mitchell has. A lot of that. That's why he'll be youthful for Peter Pan. You know? Look at how he dresses at his political rallies, you know? Yeah. I am talking now generally. I'm not talking, you know, to say I'm supporting this one or support. I'm telling there's a fact of life. The man looks young.
And he does the right thing.
And yeah, conceptual.
Goes to the gym every morning from what we told.
Oh yes, gets up at 5 o'clock and goes to the gym, and all those around him have to go too.
There's no escaping that, right?
That's right.
What a wonderful note to end beyond the headlines. We're looking ahead. Election Watch starts here on GBN. I am very delighted to have been your host one more time, and to have had with us Mr. Derek Ramsamouche. He is a Trinidadian political analyst. He calls himself a political economist as well. That's his official training. He's now based in Suriname. We've had Mrs. Gloria Payne Banfield. She's a political veteran. Now that the program is over, I can call her that. She always likes for us to stick to retired public worker, but she wears so many hats. In Netball Association, you had those netball days, right? Yes, she had those netball days as well. I knew her in the Grenada.
When I was playing netball, I said, what is old woman doing playing netball? You know, and I broke my leg, my ankle. And somebody asked me, what you doing? I said, I was playing that. They say, you're playing young. You see?
You see?
Because I was playing netball. I was playing young.
She was playing young because she was playing netball.
People that age ain't supposed to play anything.
Supposed to back up in a corner according to some people. Right?
And I was much younger then.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Payne Banfield. We will hear from your good friend down the street, Miss Steele, tomorrow. I'm surprised she didn't call to provoke you. Mrs. Mason Francis, it is so wonderful to always have you in the audience, and to all of you who viewed tonight. We say thanks to Shirlene Hubbard. Our very youthful Shirlene Hubbard sitting around with the youthful Mrs. Payne Banfield. Shirlene, as we know, is a trade unionist. She has 25 years of banking and finance experience. She's a volunteer with the Grenada National Organization of Women. She's a member of the YWCA, and I'm certain there are other hats that Shirlene wears. So the next time you see Shirlene, don't dismiss her as, you know, some quiet person in the corner. She says in the trade union movement, she's representing women and taking up the issues on behalf of women. I want to thank all of you for staying the course with us this evening, the entire production team here at the GBN who has worked to ensure that we could bring another thought-provoking session to you. Thank you. To those of you who provided feedback, we are eternally grateful to you, and we say keep the feedback coming. We love it. God bless you. I'll see you again next week if the Lord allow us to continue having breath in our nostrils. I'm Odette Campbell. Delighted to be your host as always. So long for now.